Hello and welcome to Desertwood Days. I am your host, Kathy Blaze. I am here today with Susan Rienzo, actress.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm very excited to be here. How are you?
I'm awesome. You know what, Susan? Every time I think about you, I think about that time we went to an audition up in Prescott.
Yes, I was thinking about that too. I think that's when we first met.
That was when we first met. Very interesting.
It was.
It was cold as heck
It was
up there.
cold. We drove all the way up there for this audition, and it was one of my first auditions when I first started acting here.
Yes, I remember my long drive up to Prescott. It felt like forever. I'm like, well, I am so
fun.
glad I didn't. I went because I was I wasn't going to go at first. So I'm so glad because now we know each other and we
yes.
met.
And you were so gracious that day and so friendly. Like I said, I really didn't know anyone in the acting community. Oh, okay. Well, we got to know each other that day.
Yes. Well, welcome, Susan. That was, speaking of Prescott, that was your first gig, right?
Well, one of the first. No, it wasn't my first, but it was one of my first auditions, yes. So maybe it was 2011, 2012?
Yes, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
What inspired you to be an actress?
Well, I feel like it's just something that was in me from the time I was born. I was fascinated by entertainers. I loved the movies. I think one of my first memories at the age of 4 was running around my living room, but pretending I was being chased in a movie. Specifically in a movie, not just being chased by a bad guy, but in a movie.
By a bad guy?
Yeah, by a bad guy, being chased. And I grew up in New Jersey, so I used to go to Broadway shows, and you just get those chills up your spine, and those goosebumps, and your hair raised on certain scenes and moments. So I really always wanted to act. And I did it a little bit in high school. I wasn't really encouraged to be an actress. My mom used to say, they live terrible lives, those actors. They're crazy. They have crazy lives. It's such a hard life. And I thought, well, I guess it is.
Oh.
So I kind of didn't pursue it as an adult. I had a career. I got married, raised my kids. But then later...
You had someone shoot it down at an early age.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I could have still done it. I'm not blaming my mom. I could have still done it.
But when someone plants that seed, I mean...
Yeah. But it never left me.
Good. I'm glad it didn't, or I wouldn't have met you.
That's right. I wouldn't be here.
You know what, Susan? As a mature actress, do you think or find that roles are hard to find?
Well, when I originally got into this Arizona acting community, again, it was about 10 years ago. So I was told, it was a friend that actually encouraged me, that her husband was acting, and she told me, I know you love acting and you want to do it, and I really feel like if you tried it here, you could get parts, because there are a lot of parts for people in that age group. And there were some. There are still more parts for younger people, and I think there always will be.
Right.
There were some, but at the time I got into it and I was playing a lot of moms. I was always playing the mom. Now I feel like sometimes I'm playing more the grandmom, which is okay because I am a grandma.
You're grandma.
I am. But I'm like, I could still play the mom of a 10-year-old. So yeah, I have to accept that as we age, the roles do evolve.
Yes.
And there may be less, but I think there's still enough.
Yes.
I like to think I could play any age.
Do you? Speaking of that, do you look at an age range rather than saying, "Hey, I'm 40, so I'm looking for roles that look like it's for a 40-year-old," or do you say I'm going to look for a range from 30 to 50?
Well, I started out looking from 30 to 50. I think I've moved it up to 40 plus now.
Oh.
I'm trying to be realistic, but yeah. I do. I look at a range. I feel like we don't necessarily play our exact age. We just play what we can be believable as.
Right.
And what we're offered.
And I see you as a mom of a 10-year-old.
Thank you. I mean, when I'm out with my grandkids, sometimes they think they're my kids. So
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. You've also started a podcast. Can you tell us about this podcast?
Well, my Facebook Live?
Yes.
Yes, I do something on Facebook Live called Sippin with Susan. I started that in March of 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic shutdown, because I was working from home. I wasn't going out as much. Obviously, none of us were going out much.
Right.
And it was, making me a little crazy because I'm not a homebody and I like to be where the people are, like the Little Mermaid. So I thought, well, this will be a good way to connect with people, keep people who are stuck at home entertained, sharing experiences of the pandemic and COVID, also keeping me in front of the camera because there wasn't much acting, shooting, filming going on then. So that's when I started it, and I'm still doing it, and it's
good for you.
It's evolved. I mean, we talk about a lot of things, or I talk about a lot of things, not just COVID and the pandemic anymore.
Right.
But people seem to like it. It gets a few hundred views now and then.
And I
and
think there's something for everyone out there.
Yes.
And I think as an artist, we can share a gift in whichever platform we choose to, because there's someone out there for us.
And then we can show our real personalities and interact. People comment live, and then sometimes the discussion goes in another direction, and I just go with it. They're usually about a half an hour each, and I call it Sipping with Susan because I always start with a cocktail.
You see, she didn't bring me a cocktail or anything.
Didn't.
So
well,
I
it is early.
Who says?
I know, it's never too early. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's never too early.
That's true.
So Sipping with Susan is something you started to, keep your acting chops going.
Exactly.
I mean, to entertain those that were at home during the pandemic.
And people enjoy it. There are people that actually will message, because I was doing it twice a week. It's mainly now once a week on Sundays. That's your
day?
Typical time, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So on Sundays, there are people that will message me, are you doing Sipping with Susan tonight? What are you going to talk about? I'm like, wow, you really are actually looking forward to watching Sipping with Susan. That's pretty cool. So
do you have a plan to keep this going and maybe, really do it big?
Yeah.
Podcast.
Actually, it's interesting you say that because I'm thinking about expanding it, maybe making it more of a produced show with guests and maybe more of a script, maybe even moving it over to Instagram.
Yes, we can sip together.
Yes.
Sipping with Susan on Desertwood Days.
Yes. You can be my guest.
Yes. But today you're my guest, and I welcome you.
Okay.
You've gone through a tough moment in your life, and we don't have to get much into it, but how did the acting community help you get through this?
You're talking about when I was going through cancer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The acting community is a wonderful community. I mean, it was a whole new group of friends I have made here since I started acting, and actors, contrary to what my mother said, they might be a little crazy, but they're wonderful people. And
crazy is good.
They're crazy in a good way, right? They're very upbeat and positive and creative. And when I was going through this, everyone reached out in their own way. I got so much support. Yes. And they had different ways of trying to help. Like I remember one actress friend said, if you want, because I was losing my hair, I was going through chemo, she goes, we can have a wig party. And everybody can wear a wig, and they can bring their wigs. And if you want a wig, you could have a bunch of wigs to choose from. And I thought that was such a cool idea. And
that is awesome to hear that the community band around you and kept you up, tried to keep you uplifted during that hard time.
They did. And what's cool now is when I see people, and this was like 5 years ago, so knock wood, everything's good. It's been 5 years. But when I do see people in person from the community, they still ask, how are you doing?
Yes.
And I'm still thinking about you, and I'm so glad you're doing so well. And they're just really positive. You get a lot of that love vibe.
And you know what, with Sipping with Susan, everyone nowadays tell their testimonies and about something that's happened to their life, which is a perfect thing. Because there's always someone going through something. So
Mm-hmm.
that could be really inspiring if you're willing
Mm-hmm.
to share however
Mhm.
much you want to share,
Mhm.
but you may be being that community advocate that's helping out
Yes.
someone else.
Yeah, sometimes actually people have done that too. They've had
Yeah.
family members going through something and they've reached out to me to say, what was helpful to you and how did you get through it and what can I do for them? So,
Well, Susan, I'd like to ask, are there any new projects that you're working on right now?
yes, my latest role that I was just cast in is for a web series called Crime Scene.
Okay.
And what they do is they have a website where people subscribe and they have actors play out, say, an investigation or interrogation. There's been a crime, maybe a murder, and people who are suspects or people of interest are being interviewed. So these subscribers to the site try to solve the crime, and apparently they have a huge chat room where they all talk about, who they think did it and try to solve the mystery.
Wow.
So I've just been cast as a character in an upcoming shoot of that. I think we shoot in September.
Oh,
So that'll be fun.
congratulations. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So are you able to tell who your character is?
Her name is Lara. I believe she's a bar owner. I can't say too much, and I haven't actually gotten the script yet, but I just know from when I did the audition and read the slides. I believe she's a bar manager.
Okay.
So she's kind of tough, tough but professional and not a.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We'll see how I play her.
What advice would you offer an aspiring actress? I would like to say an aspiring mature actress.
Just get yourself out there, make as many contacts as you can, network. A lot of times it's something you hear from someone you know about an upcoming project or role, and that's the best way to, get into these things that are shooting locally. Get an agent if you can.
Okay.
That helps. It helps with more of the commercial roles.
Okay.
I do have an agent for Robert Black.
Okay.
And get good headshots and look at all the sites where they post casting notices. Just the more you spread yourself out as far as looking at what's happening and knowing people that are making projects,
get yourself
we're
out
working
there,
on that.
network, and be known.
Yeah, it can't be shy.
Sure.
Can't be shy. You have
Where can our audience find you, Susan?
Where can they find me?
Yes.
Oh. I haven't created a website yet.
You're on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Yes, I'm on Twitter. I'm on all the
Okay.
social media. My next project is to create my own website. I have a reel on YouTube.
Okay.
I have a couple of acting reels, really.
Wonderful.
Look those up.
Well, thank you for joining us today. It was
Oh,
such a pleasure
It was
catching
such a
up
pleasure
with you.
catching up with you. My one of my oldest friends in the acting community.
Well, leave off
No,
that
I don't
word
mean old.
oldest.
I don't mean old. Longest standing. Okay.
Yeah. We will catch you next time on Desertwood Days with Kathy Blaze.